program is dedicated to creating a spark in the Jewish soul. Now, this program is for Jewish people. We're not into a proselytizing or capturing converts. You're not going to see on this program any of this magic healing or instant enlightenment. But if you do pay attention and watch carefully, you might have that spark inside you ignited. The spark that's in every Jew that wants to know more about what it means to be a Jew. We're very honored today to have as our guest Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, who has spanned the globe, his teachings, his music, for close to 3 decades. He comes from a rabbinic family and has been educated by you might call him the royalty of the Torah world. He has a very strong influence from the 60s, and his teachings of loving thy neighbor as ourself is pretty much his trademark. It's only hours before a live concert. And this program is recorded live with all of its blunders that real life has and all of its spontaneity. So it's with great pleasure that I greet Rav Shlomo.
Shmuel, you're the best. Thank you so much. How do I deserve this great honor to be with you on the program?
Shlomo, listen, you were educated by Aaron Cutler, the great Rabbi Zerfel Bracha.
I could say I had the privilege of really learning by the giants of the last generation, the super giants.
Mm-hmm.
And there's every Jew has, like, the Torah has 2 parts. There's the Torah, Gal Yeshiva Torah, the revealed teaching, and then there's Sisra Torah, the secret of the Torah. And I had the privilege in learning, Gemara and Taisus, which is more or less the revealed part of the Torah. I had the greatest teachers in the world. Rabbi Aaron Kotler, who was a super giant. One person met him, a non-Jewish person spoke to him, and he says, this person is 7 Einsteins, not 1 Einstein, And then I had another teacher, was Reb Shlomo Hyman. In New York, Misilti was like the deepest. He was so deep, when he would say, let's say, 1 and 1 is 2, it'd blow your mind. Because every word he said had 2,000 tons hanging on it. That's in learning, right? But again, in serving God and being a Jew, I had the privilege of whatever was available after the Second World War, because it was too small before. The older Babitcher Rebbe, the Mojitzer Rebbe, and the Bob Rebbe should live long, and the present Babitcher Rebbe, and in Eretz Yisrael I went to all the big Rebbes, and I don't know if you know, one of the greatest today is Amshnover Rebbe, lives in Yerushalayim.
So you ended up in Berkeley, and it's my understanding, I don't know how much of this is folklore or what, that you, during the drug culture of the 60s, you were out there saving souls. You were in India in the ashrams, taking Jewish people out and giving them the spark, giving them the inspiration to go and learn more. Thousands of Jewish kids you've brought back, and how did the evolution out to Los Angeles, out to California, out to into the hippie stage, how did that evolve?
I have to tell you something which is really crazy. Do you know that it all began in Miami Beach? Would you believe it? This is really a crazy story. I began actually singing 1960. Actually, 1961 was my first concert in Town Hall. Mm-hmm. That's how it began. And then I came out with a record, and you see today there are a lot of Jewish records on the market. At that time, there were just a few. So mine was one of the first. But anyway, about 1966 actually, I gave a concert in Miami Beach, and I wasn't married, and the couple comes up to me and says, "Hey, we would like you to meet our daughter. She is a professor of sociology at Berkeley. You know, what do you do with them cute people? You know, I have a girl for you. That happens to me all the time, right?" So I didn't want to just. I said, "I tell you what. Here's my record. I had the next record, and I asked what's his daughter's name. Let's say Rosalind. I said, dear Rosalind, I'm sending you this record, and I put down my address and my number. Let me hear from you. You know, and I forgot it completely. It was maybe in January or February. In May, I get a call from Berkeley. And this girl says, I'm sure you don't remember that you sent me once a record. Yeah, I do. She said, I want you to know, I like this record very much. I play it all the time. It was my record from the Village Gate. And next door to me lives the person who was organizing the festival, folk festival in Berkeley, which was the highest thing in the world at that time. And he is inviting ethnic groups. And he wanted to invite somebody Jewish also, but he doesn't know any Jews. So when he is my next door neighbor, the window's open, he heard your record. So he says, oh, this is the kind of a Jew I want to invite. So she says, I want you to call this neighbor of mine. He wants to talk to you about coming to the Berkeley Folk Festival. So this is how I came to the Berkeley Folk Festival.
So what about the House of Love and
Wait.
Prayer?
So, I'm coming to San Francisco for the first time.
Uh-huh.
I look around and I realize those kids are not really looking for drugs. They're looking for something so deep and so holy. And I realized that, so to speak, the Jewish establishment, you know, I'm walking into a drugstore and I'm sick, and all they give me is aspirin, so they should close the store, you know. I need medication. You know, the Torah has two parts. The Torah has a level of food, giving you strength, and the Torah is also on the level of medication. And I realized those kids are looking at something so deep in the Torah. You know, the first time I walked on Haight-Ashbury, without telling you long stories, hundreds of kids walked with me. And the first time I was Shabbos in Berkeley, I announced I'll be Shabbos in the shul. 2,000 kids came with me. I had to tell you what. You know what, the rabbi ran off, he didn't know what to do. And the president said it was the most terrible Shabbos in his life because he saw young people, instead of rejoicing that young people coming back to shul, he said it was terrible because some of them were barefoot. And you know how particular God is, right? When someone comes without shoes to the synagogue, never, poor God, he can't stand it, right? Anyway, I realized we cannot rely on the synagogues. It's a joke. So we had to open our own house. And we had the house from 66 till 76. And I just want you to know that thousands of kids. You know, Friday night in San Francisco, in all the big shuls, how many people do they have? They have always 9. But they just shorten one sometimes. We usually had hundreds of kids, and they would have to come through the window to come in because it was so mobbed. And what the kids were looking for was something very deep, very holy, and very beautiful, and something which is mind-blowing. You know who came a lot of times Friday night? Tim Leary, who was at that time one of my best friends, and he was into LSD, right? And he would come a lot of times and he says, my whole life I'm looking to turn on young people without drugs. I haven't found it yet. But he says, I think you Jews have it. Your Shabbos seems to be like the strongest drug in the world.
In Tim Leary's book Flashbacks, which is his autobiography, he talks a lot of, he goes through the whole history of that era. And he makes a veiled reference to what he calls a rock and roll rabbi. And he doesn't call you by name, but I don't know anybody else really that...
No, it was very close to me. He told me that a lot of times when he takes LSD, he's putting on my record, and it fits. You know, usually when you take LSD, you cannot listen just to straight music, you know, it's too way out, you know. So it was a great honor that he says he's listening to my songs. Mm-hmm. But I want you to know, like, you know, in the 60s, the whole drug scene was that kids want to get out of their shell. They look at their parents, and they see it's dead. people are married for 30 years and complete strangers. So there was a whole generation that really, really wanted to be close to each other. They really wanted to find a way. And sadly enough, we Jewish people, we had a chance to take over the world at that time. But once you know, I spoke at that time to all those great giants, so to speak. Not the super tough giants, so they're half giants. I told them we need new yeshivas, we need new schools, because thousands of kids are on the way back, and the yeshivas don't know how to handle it. They laughed in my face in the 60s, because at that time it wasn't in yet, the whole tshuva movement. All of a sudden in the 60s, in the 70s they discovered it, and one great rabbi once said at a convention, because of us, meaning him and the rabbis, there's a tshuva movement. I said to his son, can you please tell your father my name? Despite people like your father, the tshuva movement is going so strong. And today, you see, what is Shmuel? We still haven't done justice yet. Because there are thousands of young people who are looking for something so deep and so exalted. And see, we have it. The Torah has everything. I can tell somebody what's Shabbos, don't drive a car, then go to the beauty parlor, eat chicken soup, and read the Jewish press. That's Shabbos.
Mm-hmm. So was
But when someone wants something deeper, what do you want to say?
Yeah. I'm trying to get some clarity on this. The 60s with the drugs and all that. So was it that you say that it was a time of searching, like a spiritual searching?
Unbelievable, yeah.
And that it was students of yours talk about that period as there was a light on.
Yeah.
At that time, like there was the light of Hashem was
really shining deep.
Shining deep, and that people were like blown out trying to create a vessel to catch it.
That's it. You see, in the 60s, the light was strong, but we had no vessels. In the 70s, everybody was so desperate, there was no light and no vessels. And now, in the 80s and 90s, some of the light is coming back slowly. And I just hope people have vessels for it.
Shlomo, we're going to break for a commercial, and we'll be right back, okay?
What's the commercial? How to sell yarmulkes, right?
We're back with Shlomo Karbach, and we're talking about the 60s. We're talking about India, going out to the ashrams to save the Jews, out to spiritual festivals during the 60s, early 70s. Tell me about going out.
80s, I'm still going everywhere. You know what it is like? You see what it is? In the 60s and early 70s, the coming back to Yiddishkeit was like atomic explosions. And they came back by Concorde, by missiles. Today they come back on a bicycle, or maybe in a taxi. It's not those, and we missed it sadly enough. But yet I still meet some kids all over the world who are ready to jump in a Concorde and come to Yerushalayim. And I have to tell you something, it's not only the Jewish kids we have to reach, because I tell you something unbelievable. There are a lot of Jewish kids out there who are so assimilated. If you only talk to Jewish kids, they won't listen to you. You have to talk to the world. And maybe they'll pick it up, hopefully.
I'll share a story how you affected my life that you probably don't even know about. Before I was really ready to start keeping Shabbos, I was at a Hasidic home and for Malava Malka. And they took out one of your albums and they said, have you ever heard of the Rock and Roll Rabbi? And so I looked at the album and go, wow, a rabbi with long hair. I have long hair, I can relate to that. And so they put on the album and said, but no, we just listen to his music. He's not, just the music. And so there was this kind of like dichotomy that they wanted your music, but there's a friction, there's a conflict, who is the Shlomo? And what's the controversy that kind of overshadows all your good work?
I tell you what, I think it's a privilege that God put it in such a way that people don't really know what I'm doing. Because the Talmud says that God's blessing is only there where it's hidden from the world. People ask me, okay, so how many people have you turned on to Shabbos? I say, what should I tell you? What will it add to you or to me if you know the numbers? You know what it is like? You know, according to real Chassidus and Kabbalah, the night is not dark. The night, there's so much light that it has to be hidden. The night is hiding the light behind it. And you know, the night is the greatest thing in the world. You get so close to people, and at night, my monitor says that you can only really learn at night. So, basically, I'm a night man. You know, it's crazy. You know, without bragging, I really reached a lot of kids, right? And then they have those big conventions about Tshuva movement. Think they ever invited me?
Why do you think that is?
Because they're still straight.
They're
straight. They're doing stuff. You know, I'll tell you what, they have a big outreach program in New York, everywhere, and they have a convention. What are they talking about? Fundraising 1, fundraising 2, right? You know, they call themselves professional outreach. Can you imagine, could you say professional outreach? Your heart has to ache for every Jew who doesn't keep Shabbos, and you want them so much to keep Shabbos. I'm professional? I asked one of them, are you a professional husband? Are you a professional father? If you do it with all your heart, you're not professional.
The postscript of my story
Yeah.
is, it was in Toronto about 2 weeks after that Shabbos, where I listened to your record, that it was about midnight, and I got a call that I had to go out to Los Angeles. And I was driving in a taxi, and I recognized you walking along the street from the picture on your album cover. And I told the taxi driver, stop, let me get out of the car. And I ran up to you, I said, Shlomo, I'm going out to Los Angeles, you don't know me, but I'm starting to get interested in Shabbos. Who can you send me to? He sent me to Rav David Montag. And it happened that my problem was that I couldn't justify, I couldn't get a good answer from anybody how you can have predetermination and free will. They seem to work at odds with one another. So who do you send me to? You send me to a guy who works in a planetarium, who's a professor of physics, who teaches me the theory of relativity, and then how the Maharal's explanation to physical miracles. And it was like, that was it, you know? You don't even know about
He's one of my top people, David Montag.
Yeah.
He does more for Yiddishkeit than 95% of the rabbis in Los Angeles.
His organization is Or Hadash, I think.
Or Chadash, yeah.
Right. So,
he's still one of my best.
So what about the ashrams in India?
You see what it is? The ashrams basically are very holy places, because people there are they're not looking for pleasure, for physical pleasure. They're not looking for money. They're really dedicated people. And a lot of Jewish kids didn't find this dedication among us. Many you can say we don't have it, but those real Yidden, the real holy Yidden, they don't know their address, right? So what we have to do is give them a little address, like the with Montag or the Amshna Rebbe. I have to tell you another little story. Not as good as yours. But anyway, I was somewhere at a party in San Francisco, and someone interviewed me about the great giants today in the spiritual Jewish world. And the Amshnova, you know, have you ever been by big rabbis? Someone says L'chaim, there are 1,000 people say L'chaim. Everybody L'chaim, right?
Right.
The Amshnova, the holy Amshnova, there could be 1,000 people, but he says L'chaim to every individual. Listen to the way he says it, I won't be so dramatic. He says, L'chaim, Toiv, Elashul. He says all his heart. And you think he's keeling over from exhaustion after every person says L'chaim. And somewhere up north in a little commune, this boy is leaving for India, and someone says, I have here a little tape for you. Puts on this tape where I tell about the Amshnova. And this boy liked it so much. He says, you mean to say there's this great rabbi who says L'chaim to every person? It's all his heart. I want to stop on the way to India to see him first. And he's now become Shnei Chassid, you know.
So, I guess towards the beginning of the 70s started the Moshe.
Yeah.
How
You
did
see, most of those kids who went through the doors of the House of Love and Prayer ended up in Israel. And in San Francisco, we had a House of Love and Prayer, but in Israel, it would be beautiful to have a little village of love and prayer. But, so, you know which village we have now? Modi'in. Modi'in is the city of the Maccabees, of the high priest. The high priest during the time of the Holy Temple was living in Modi'in, because in the time of the Holy Temple, Jerusalem ended in Modi'in. And Jerusalem was a giant city. And that's it.
And what's you're the spiritual leader of the...
I wouldn't comment as the leader, but I hope I'm a good friend to them. I live there, have a house there. I mean, I confiscated the house, let's say.
And how many people are there now?
You see, I don't want to say anything bad. We have so much trouble with the government, you know. They should live long with their red tape. We have 40 houses, and for years we could have had a city there of thousands of people. But somehow they decided we are the last ones to build more houses. So right now we have only 40 houses. We have about 35 families, some singles. But we have 128 kids, the most beautiful kids in the world. And I can only invite the whole world to come there, for Shabbos at least.
Right.
And,
what would you say to, like, maybe a Jewish kid that's, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and they're flipping through their channels and they're doing a rerun of Insight 613? What would you tell them to get them to go to the next step, to learn, to grow, to...
First of all, I would say in the deepest way, I would be most honored if they call me. They can call me 24 hours a day. I give you all my numbers if you can announce it, and my address. But they don't have really to look for me. They have you here. There are a lot of beautiful people here in Miami, I'm sure. The only thing is, I would like to tell them something. If right the first time someone tells them what to do, what not to do, then he's not a good teacher. Then he is not the real one. Because the first time that you meet a person, you just have to be so happy that you see them. That, what to tell you, I'll tell you later. Right? Mm-hmm. You see, a doctor has right away to give a prescription. A friend doesn't have to give prescriptions right away. You know. And, you know what, we have to teach our Yidden most. We would have most probably tens of thousands of more kids coming back to us if you would know how to greet them.
Shlomo, it's been a terrific pleasure to have you on the show.
Shmuel, you're the best.
And we have this videotape of the interview and the concert that will follow in about 20 minutes. If you think this kind of programming is important and you would like to see more of it, you'd like to get it on your own cable station, give me a call, write me. The number of my company is on the end of this video. And if you'd like to be in touch with Shlomo, contact me. And that's it. Until next time, this is Insight 613.
Sure. la la la
You know, I want to say about 2 million times thank you to Rapilla. Where's Rapilla? Where are you, brother? You know what my definition of a rabbi is? What's the word rabbi? The word rabbi means ra, he's bad, but by, he gets by, right? So therefore I couldn't say Rabbi Hillel because it would be the wrong description. Reb Hillel is mamish a Rebbe. He's an emes Rebbe. You know what a Rebbe means? A Rebbe comes from the word, combination of 2 words, Rav, Yud. That means God's light, the Yud. Oh, it's so tremendous inside of it. And I wish all the rabbis would be like Kapil. I want you to know, I walk into the shul, and then while Kapil was at the wedding of Cheva B'Damei Mincha, I would say they're putting most synagogues to shame. They daven Mincha with so much heart, with so much simcha, with so much kedusha, and
So first I want to tell the story now of Rab Hillel and of the Holy Rebbetzin and the child and the in-laws and all the Eden who daven here. You know, if I were to ask you, do you know how to daven? I would say, what a chutzpah to ask. I'm perfect in Hebrew, right? Because what else do you need? Someone calls up page 35, and you can read the whole page, and it's called good davening. But you know, davening is not poetry reading. Davening. I'm sure you share my feelings. I mean, we have to call out the page because some people really don't know where we are on. But basically, when you daven, you talk to God, to your best friend. It doesn't depend on the page. It's deeper than the page. I always tell my friends, don't turn the page, let the page turn you. Every word of the prayer has to turn you over 1,000 times. Anyway, here's the story. Blessing Rab Hillel, and also I have the great privilege of seeing one of my biggest rebels, Rabbi Glicksman, Mamish Aziz, a Heilige Yid. Can you please give him a big hand? I have the privilege of knowing Rabbi Glicksman for so many years, and I saw his children when they were little, see them growing up, and they're also beautiful. So here's the story. Everybody heard of the Kotzker Rebbe, right? And if not, from now on. Kotzk is a little town in Poland, and in Kotzk, you know, by some Rebbes the most important thing is Shabbos, the most important thing is humility. In Kotzk, the most important thing is it for real? Do you really mean it? One of his greatest pupils name was Reb Yechiel Gasteninen. He was called the Tillim Yid, the Jew of the Tillim. Because when he took the Tillim in his hand, and when he was praying, you could see with your bare eyes how he opens all the gates of heaven. So at one time they asked Reb Yechiel, what brought you to Kotzk? This is what he said. You know, Reb Yechiel, besides being a Kotzker Chassid, he was a giant in learning. He says, I got married when I was 14 years old. Married the daughter of a rich man. And he promised me 20 years support, so I could sit and learn day and night, night and day. I would wake at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would daven. 9 o'clock I would go home, suspense in my heart. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, had maybe learned already 10 hours. One afternoon, give me how many everyone? One afternoon at 2 o'clock. Somebody walked in. I'd never seen a Kotzker Chassid, but the way they were described to me, I could see it's a Kotzker Chassid. A lot of chutzpah, a lot of audacity. Mikey knows what he's doing. He walks up to me and he says, my dear friend, could I borrow your talis and your tefillin? I would like to daven shachas. Says, I'm 40 years old and I have already learned today about 10 hours and you haven't even davened yet? Which is basically a stupid question, because what did you do the whole time? The Kotzker Chassid looks at me and says, listen, you don't want to give it to me, don't, but don't give me advice. I didn't ask you. And you know, according to Shulchan Aruch, If someone asks you what talis and film, you have to give it to them. Okay, reluctantly, I'm giving it to him. I say, my dear friend, I want you to know, I just been married a few weeks. And my father-in-law gave me a new talis. When I put in the talis for the first time, I made a vow that whenever I put in the talis, I will have very holy thoughts. He looks at me. Holy thoughts, like he knows what holy thoughts are. He says, don't worry about it, it'll be holy thoughts. Okay, I'm ready for a big one-man show. Because if he prepared himself for so many hours to daven, who knows, maybe he'll fall down 100 times, maybe he'll cry, who knows what. He puts in talis and tefillin. You know what he does? He walks up to the window. And there's a marketplace right outside of the Medrash. And he's standing there for 1 hour looking out. Disgusting. What's he doing there? He's watching the people buying onions and potatoes. In my talis. Every second they want to run up to him and tear off the talis, put some out. I didn't. After 1 hour, he seems to be ready. He goes up to the Arona Kodesh, the Holy Ark. I looked at him, and you know, even if you daven shachas very fast, it takes at least 15-20 minutes. He davened 7 minutes. He put his head into the Arona Kodesh. 7 minutes. Open your heart. And he was finished. I couldn't control myself anymore. I went up to him and I tore off the talis. I held the talis in my hand. The talis was soaking wet with tears. The whole talis was soaking wet with tears. I was so ashamed of myself. How come I didn't feel it? He was really crying. He said to my dear friend, please forgive me. So ashamed of myself, I tore off the talis. Forgive me 1,000 times. But just tell me, why were you standing at the window for 1 whole hour? He says to me, come with me, let's go to the window, and I will show you what's happening outside of the synagogue of the Medrash. They pointed to me in the corner. The Cossacks were having their basic training. Left, right, left, right, left, right. He said, what's a Cossack? A little drunkard. And what's the officer? A bigger drunkard. The general is the biggest drunkard of them all. It's the Tsar of Russia. You don't even have a concept what kind of a drunkard that is. But listen to me, he says. The little officer, the big drunkard, says to the little drunkard, right, left, right, left. Would he dare to go left, right, instead of right, left? He wouldn't dare. Imagine the general, the big drunkard would come. And he would say to the little Cossack, right, left, right, left. He would not dare. But imagine the Tsar of Russia would say to little drunkard, little Cossack, go right. He'd commit suicide, but he'd go right. Then I began thinking to myself, didn't I stand on Mount Sinai? Didn't I hear God's voice telling me, go right? Why do I always go left? I was so broken, then I began to pray. And I'm still holding the talisman in my hand. He says to me, my friend, don't worry. By tomorrow the talus will be dry. I couldn't control myself anymore. I began crying from the deepest depths of my heart. And he said, I don't ever want my talent to be dry again. I don't want ever my talent to be dry again. Suddenly put his holy hand on my shoulder, embraced me, and he says, you really want to daven? You really want to learn how to pray? Pack up. Come with me to my Rebbe, the Holy of Holiest, the Rebbe of Kotsk. So I want to bless all of you, especially Reb Hillel, and all the people in this beautiful Holy Besmedlish synagogue. I bless you. Your prayer shawls should always be wet. Always. But you know, my beautiful friends, then sometimes you take your children under your talus, and children are much more honest than we are, and they see the talus is not wet. Then they won't get much from your davening. They think, my father doesn't daven anyway. Oh, but you take them under your talus, and the talus is wet. And you know what's so special about tears when you daven? I don't mean tears of sadness, tears of depth. When my talus is wet with tears, and somehow my Bobas and my Zetas sending me as a gift from heaven their tears also. Tell you another Tala story. I also want to thank very much my friend Avi and his beautiful wife who was on the Moshab and being such a good friend to me. And naturally, Brother Shmuel, thank you so much for organizing. And can I correct you? I'm sure you didn't mean it, but I have to tell the people. I want you to know something. But I remember when I began my humble career, some people said, oh, it's the Jewish Elvis Presley. Ugh. So disgusting. You know, I said, if Elvis Presley would call himself the Jewish Shlomo Carlebach, on the very same day I'll call myself the Jewish Elvis Presley. You know what the problem with us is? We always mix up everything. We mix American Fleischig, we put sardines in chicken soup. I mean, everything has its own department, right? You know, when a person is sick, imagine the foot will say to the stomach, stomach, I love you. You are the master of all the bagels. I would like to look exactly like you. Imagine suddenly the stomach will look like a foot. You won't be able to exist. God created the world, the stomach is the stomach, a hand is the hand, a foot is the foot, the ears are the ears. You know what the saddest thing is? I don't think any other nation has the same problem like we. Some of us Jews always want to be something else. Have you ever seen a dog coming to a therapist? I'm in the middle of an identity crisis. Always wish to be a cat, you know? I mean, I wouldn't say hang around therapists too much. You know, in my shul in New York, someone described it as says, half of them are patients, and half of them are therapists, but you never know the difference, right? Anyway, so I know therapists when I see them. Have you ever seen an apple coming and say, listen, I always dream about being an orange tree. Can you help me? Apple is an apple, no it's not. I just want you to know, as for me, I want you to know when I was in yeshiva, I was learning so much. Not only I didn't buy a newspaper, I wouldn't even look at the headlines. I didn't want anything in my hand but the Torah. Well, then I went to university because I needed to be in touch with the world. But there's one thing I never did. I never listened to non-Jewish music. One thing I'm crazy, I never heard the Beatles. I never heard the Beatles. The only thing I know is Siddish melodies. And believe me, we don't need to pick up rhythm. I love the non-Jewish world, the music is beautiful, but we don't need to pick up from them the rhythm. You think all Chassidim didn't dance like wild? You know, when someone hangs on the word rock and roll to me, makes me feel very bad. I want you to know, without bragging, because the Bezer Rebbe said anything which is a gift from God, you can brag about it. You know, after the Second World War, there was no more Jewish music, because all the great composers never give out. I'm sure they're still composing great melodies up there, but we haven't heard them. So miraculously, I got myself a guitar, and I began making up some melodies. And the world was so hungry that whenever I made up a melody, after a few weeks, they were singing it all over the world. And Black Lixman is my witness, right? But then, Baruch Hashem, today, there are a lot of young people who compose melodies. The only thing is, which is a little bit sad, they mix the milchig and flashig. They do. You know, not every bang bang melody is a Chassidish melody. You know what the Chassidish melody is? A melody you can dance with, but also cry with. You know the old Chassidim when they were dancing? Tears were flowing. Not sadness. So deep, it's so deep. You know, I blessed you to be at your children's weddings. Bless me to be my children's weddings. When you marry off your children, your eyes are full of tears. You can't believe it, Master of the world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I just want you to know I'm not, God forbid, taking melodies from other nations, even if they're the most beautiful. I'm just only singing what God gave me in my most humble way, Manigunim, and thank God, a lot of them have good rhythm, I hope. You know, rhythm, the heart is rhythm, right? I don't have to go and listen to Michael Jackson to know what rhythm is. It's in my blood, right? Every person has rhythm. And, but you know what it is? You know what Chassidish melodies is? It's melodious. It has to be melodious. And I just want you to bless me to make up some more good nigunim, hopefully. I want you to know sometimes, you know, not always, I don't meet always people like Shmuel and Reb Hillel who give me strength. Sometimes I meet people who knock me off. Okay, I guess I needed it on that day. One day I came to Yerushalayim and a whole group of people came and they fell upon me and they knocked me off. I was a bit downhearted. So I walk on the street, and on that street there are 6 wedding halls. And I was standing in the middle. And you know, out of every wedding hall, I heard another of my nigunim. So I thought to myself, you know, the people who knocked me off, who cares? Who cares? But I owe you 2 stories. A story about my league at the wedding hall and the talus. So let me first tell you the talus, then we'll sing another song, we come back to that. This is a story which was written, I heard it in Israel. You know, the daughter of a couple on a fairly religious kibbutz got married, and the mother, Nabach, a survivor, came from Europe, and the only thing she took with her was her father's talus. So before the chuppah, she says to her daughter, I would like to give the talus of my father to your husband. I hate to say bad things. The daughter says to her, listen, mother, my husband is not interested in a talus. I can tell you now he'll never wear it. And who needs a talus? I mean, she didn't say fool, but she meant it. Your father can imagine a water carrier, no television, no missile, doesn't know anything. So, it's not our kind of people. You can keep the talus. Okay, what can you do? She gets married. But eventually she has a daughter. And her daughter's getting married. So the day before the wedding, the mother says to her, I'm thinking the whole time, what can I give you? I want you to know I have this most expensive, really luxurious Chinese porcelain. I would like to give it to you. And the daughter says to her, Mommy, thank you so much, but I'm keeping a kosher home. I'm not taking your dishes. You know what her mother says? You know where my Zayda's talus is? It went straight to you. My husband didn't take it. But I guess my Zayda spread the talus out over you. You know, friends, we're living in a world where parents are sometimes so off. And yet, the grandchildren, they're coming back in such a deep way. Such a deep way. And it's just sad. Just sad. When children have to get their God knowledge not from their parents. You know, if parents would know, I can buy my children 2 cars, one fleshig, one milchig. You know what I always say, how does an assimilated Jew, how does he machal Shabbos, how does he desecrate the Shabbos? Very simple, he has 2 televisions, one for Shabbos, one for the weekday. And if by any chance on Shabbos he forgot and he turned off the weekday television, that's Chilul Shabbos, right? Desecration of Shabbos, because you're supposed to turn on Shabbos taking television. Sounds stupid, but God is that true. I want to also bless Rapil and all of us. We should carry with us the talus of every young Jewish man, of every young Jewish woman. Her Baba's prayer book and her Zayda's talus. And we should be privileged to deliver it at the right moment. Okay, we have 2 more melodies and then we have to make a little intermission. And then we'll really sing. Are you singing or are you just like sitting there? What's going on there? Let's sing one softly and one fastly. Thank you, and let's make an intermission for 10 minutes, yes? Jewish 10 minutes or Goyish 10 minutes? Real 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shmuel. No, my beautiful friends, if you permit me, since Rav Shmuel was so gracious to make a video of this concert, I would like to put in something, because, again, there are really a lot of people who sing this melody, and it's my privilege, but I don't think a lot of people really know for whom I composed this melody. And you know, I had the privilege twice in the last 3 years to give concerts in Russia, which is a long story, but not for now. But the first time I was in Russia was 1972. It was real underground. It was real hell. Absolute hell. You know what communism is all about? It's anti-love, anti-relationship. One is afraid of the other. Nobody talks to each other. Anyway, what's Yiddishkeit all about? Just the opposite of Yiddishkeit. Anyway, it was this most Torah night, and right now is not the time to tell the whole story, but just this, I'm share with you. Simos Torah night, I covered for all night, everybody knows in Russia. It was raining, a flood, and thousands. People were dancing all night. The next morning I'm going to shul, and there I noticed a girl maybe 14, 15 years old, and I had seen her the night before by her kofas, and she was wearing a Star of David. And you know, in Russia, on the streets, you don't talk to each other. When you see someone you want to talk to, you walk by, look to the other side and mumble a few words. And then they follow you and you follow them. Okay, I'm walking, I'm passing her by. And I didn't think she speaks English, but Yiddish. Sie ist ein Jontiv, when suddenly I see that she walks in to a little street. I walk behind her. She walked 2 little streets, then she stopped. One of the biggest tears I've ever seen in my life. This is what she said. Alle Beis, Gimel, Dalet Jani. Alle Beis, Gimel, Dalet. That's all I know. She said, I want you to know my father's a real communist. He signs every decree against Israel. He's very big in the government. He sells his soul every day. He forbid me ever to go to the synagogue. He forbid me ever to wear Star of David. It's only because right now he's not in Moscow. So I was able to come to her coffers. She says, one night, I couldn't bear it anymore. I'm Jewish and I know nothing. I waited outside the shul, and an old Yid came out. I said, please teach me something. So he wrote down for me, Aleph Beis, Gimel Dalet Hey. And then he wrote out for me phonetically, she said, Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu, Shem Echad. And I had some Sforim with me, some holy books, and I said, could you show me an Aleph? I want you to know, I'm sure a lot of rich people are happy with $1 million, $2 million. Doesn't compare to the pride. And she showed me an Aleph. You know, some of us know a lot. Doesn't compare to the pride she had in the Aleph. Beis. Gimel Dalet. And here I want you to open your heart. And she says to me, sadly enough, after school I have to work in an office. And Friday night, I know that a Jewish woman should kindle lights for the Holy Shabbat, but I can't. So you know what I do? I'm trying to sit by the window and watch the sun go down, and the whole time I'm singing Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Join me, Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. You know, friends, I don't know of any Jewish woman in the world whose light on Shabbos is shining like this little girl who kindles lights with Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet Hey. It was 1972. Her name is Sola. And I tell you the truth, each time I come to the Holy Wall, I'm hoping maybe a miracle will happen. Maybe I'll see her again. But wherever she is, bless her forever. So, after I left Russia, I came back, and I realized I gotta make up a song for her. So a few days later, God blessed me, a little melody came to my head. And you know, Shabbos morning, we fix the words, and then comes Keil Oden, we fix the letters. You know, Keil Oden, Aleph. Borach and Vorach, Beis. Godle Betura, Das ist von Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet. So let me sing it once by myself. That's the way I did it. Kaveh